Welcome back to the General Hospital Spoilers channel, where the truth never stays buried for long. Today's shocking update unveils the unraveling of a dark deception as Willow Tate discovers the chilling truth behind a carefully constructed lie. In a single moment of clarity, the walls of trust come crashing down, and Port Charles braces for a new storm. **** For weeks, Willow had felt a gnawing sense of unease that she couldn't name. Despite her attempts to settle into the rhythm of life following her engagement to Drew Kane, there was something off. Michael had become increasingly distant, and Wiley, once the innocent bridge that united them, now seemed confused and fearful. Drew continued to reassure her, yet a hollow echo reverberated inside her, whispering that something vital was missing. That whisper turned into a scream the moment Trina slipped a video file into her hands, her face graven, words laced with urgency. "You need to see this," she said. "It changes everything." Willow didn't know what to expect. But she wasn't prepared for what she saw. The footage was raw, pieced together from hidden surveillance feeds, audio clips, and a damning confession recorded without consent. At first, Willow wasn't sure what she was hearing. A voice, unmistakably Drew's, talking to Portia Robinson in hushed tones. And then the words became clear. He was issuing a demand, not a request. He was coercing her. If Portia didn't falsify Michael's drug test to show ketamine in his system, Drew would leak damaging information about her past at GH, evidence that could destroy her career and reputation. Willow gasped as her heart pounded in her ears. This wasn't just a misunderstanding or strategic move to protect her. This was blackmail. It was cruelty. And worse, it was directed at Michael, the father of her child, the man who had stood by her when she was fighting for her life. The implications of Drew's betrayal hit like a tidal wave. Every decision he had made, every time he insisted Michael was unstable, every time he gently guided her away from her former partner, it was all manipulation. It was all part of a design to eliminate Michael from her life, not for her own good, but for Drew's selfish gain. The video didn't stop there. It cut to another moment, Drew entering Wiley's room at the Quartermain mansion. Willow recognized the date. It was the same day Wiley came home crying, confused about why Michael didn't come to his piano recital. In the clip, Drew calmly explained to the child that Michael no longer wanted to be his father, that he had moved on, and Wiley had to be brave. The boy sobbed, clutching his favorite stuffed elephant. Drew had comforted him not with truth, but with a lie designed to shatter the bond between father and son. Willow's stomach turned. The next clip was almost unbearable. A short but telling exchange in the GH lobby where Drew blocked her from going to Michael's hospital room during a panic attack, insisting that Michael didn't want to see her, that it would only make things worse. He had smiled gently, kissed her forehead, and escorted her away. She had trusted him. But now, she realized he had stolen that moment from her, just as he had stolen Wiley's trust in his father and poisoned Portia's conscience. Willow closed her laptop, trembling. Her entire world had been tilted on its axis. All the signs had been there, the subtle shifts, the moments of doubt, the way Drew always seemed to be one step ahead of every crisis. She had dismissed her instincts as paranoia, blamed her anxiety on the trauma she had endured in the past year. But now, she understood. She had been living inside a prison of lies constructed by the man she was preparing to marry. Portia's involvement made it even worse. Willow had once believed that Portia, despite their complicated dynamic, was an ethical doctor and decent woman. But the footage made it clear that Portia had caved under pressure, violating her oath to do no harm. She had helped destroy Michael's credibility, labeling him as a potential addict in the eyes of the court and the media. Willow's mind reeled as she imagined the weight of guilt Portia must be carrying. But sympathy had to wait. There were decisions to make, and fast. Her first instinct was to confront Drew. To demand answers. To unleash her fury. But something in her told her to wait. Instead, she reached out to Jason Morgan, whose loyalty had never wavered, whose silence had often meant protection rather than concealment. Within an hour, Jason was at her apartment, the shadows beneath his eyes reflecting the burden of 1,000 secrets. She showed him the footage. He didn't say much. He didn't have to. His clenched jaw and the subtle shift in his breathing said everything. "We'll make it right," he promised. In the days that followed, Willow worked with Trina and Jason to ensure the footage was secure. Jason's contacts in tech forensics authenticated the video, preparing for the inevitable legal battles to come. Meanwhile, Trina approached Portia, demanding a confession. The confrontation was messy and emotional. Portia broke down, admitting everything. She had tried to refuse Drew at first, but when he showed her what he had, information about a patient misdiagnosis from her early career, she panicked. She didn't think it would do lasting harm. She believed Michael would recover, that it was just a temporary diversion. But her guilt had been eating her alive ever since. Willow didn't care for excuses anymore. She wanted justice. Word spread fast in Port Charles, though the names weren't made public just yet. Nina caught wind of it and cornered Drew in his office, demanding to know the truth. His denial was weak and quickly collapsed when Willow walked in and silently placed the laptop in front of him. Watching his own betrayal play out on screen, Drew's expression shifted from indignation to desperation. He tried to justify it. He said he loved her, that he had to protect her from Michael's instability. But Willow wasn't listening anymore. She had given this man her trust, her vulnerability, her future. And he had used every part of it against her. The wedding was called off. Drew was escorted from the Courtemain estate the same evening, and Carly, once his staunchest defender, refused to take his calls. Wiley, still too young to fully comprehend, sensed something had changed. Willow held him close and promised him that his daddy would be back, and this time, no one would get in their way. Michael returned to Port Charles days later, having retreated briefly after his public disgrace. He had thought Willow believed the test results. He had accepted her silence as judgment. So when she greeted him at the airport with tears in her eyes and Wiley by her side, it took him several long seconds to process it. She didn't speak. She just handed him a small flash drive. "Watch it," she whispered. He did. And when he looked back at her, he broke. There were no grand declarations. No apologies needed. The truth had spoken. And as the sun set on a city that had seen more than its fair share of betrayals, two people stood quietly at the center of it all, battered but not broken. Willow was no longer the fragile woman who clung to Drew's protection. She was a mother, a survivor, and a fighter. And Michael, despite the scars, was still the man she once loved. As for Drew, his downfall was swift. The hospital board launched a formal investigation, not just into the falsified medical test but also into prior cases he had influenced through his silent campaign of manipulation. Portia resigned before she could be dismissed, retreating into seclusion. Nina, reeling from the destruction caused by Drew, and realizing that he had also used her affections to gain leverage, ended their relationship with a bitter finality. Jason, ever the quiet guardian, continued to monitor the fallout. But one night, he met Willow at the docks. She thanked him for everything, for believing her, for protecting the truth when no one else could. He nodded, silent as always. And then, as the river glistened in the moonlight, Willow turned to face a future that, while still uncertain, no longer felt like a cage. Michael stood at the edge of the pier, Wiley in his arms, and together, they walked forward, this time, with eyes wide open and hearts guarded not by fear, but by truth. Port Charles may never be the same. But for Willow, the lies are over. And the healing has begun, ***.